So this painting is called She's an Explosion of Hope. And the underlining theme of all of my work is hope. And that kind of came over the years of getting feedback about my work. I kind of decided to set that as my mission statement. And so when I'm painting, my work is about people, really. And sometimes it's about others, and sometimes it's about myself. And I've heard a lot of people say to me how hopeful my work is. And so as I was painting this particular painting, She's an Explosion of Hope, I was actually thinking of the comments people would give me about my work and how I pour myself into the painting. And so really this is kind of an expression of myself and what my work seemed to have, the vision and the statement that my work seemed to naturally and organically produce and put out into the world. So this is sort of like a metaphorical image of what my heart is when I put my work out there. So She's an Explosion of Hope is kind of about me and my work and what it represents.
It is very interesting for sure. It's got a two-way kind of nurturing flow to it, in the sense that I feel the garden of personality and all the surrounding outside, and then the moving forward of the light of my personality. But I also see it as coming into me, right? So that's good. I like that.
I love that. And actually, this one was also it was created in the studio. So my work is kind of half and half. Half of it's produced in the studio, and half of it's produced on location. And it's funny, I can remember the location I paint each painting for some reason that never leaves me. So I remember I had quite an intimate studio time for this one, and it was very I had the music cranked and I danced and painted. It was very liberating in my studio. So, which you can't necessarily do when you're on location. So some of the pieces have a different feel that were created in the studio, in my private studio space.
So is it jazz? Is it classical? Is it pop music? What kind of energy of music are you listening to, or a variety as you create this?
My playlist is really all over the place. I wouldn't necessarily say it's jazz or classical, though. I tend to lean towards like, not even like top 40 music, but like sort of obscure alternative, electronic music, anything that, even acoustic stuff. Like it's quite diverse in my taste, but stuff that I hear it on, I love CBC radio. And so I'll hit like the Shazam app to record the artist so that I can remember that and go back and add it to my playlist. But if a song hits me, it's funny, songs have to hit me to want to save that into my playlist, and then I bring it back into the studio, and songs that hit me that way, I know that I can paint to them. So it's usually music that stirs up some sort of like emotional like excitement. So that's kind of how I save my playlist.
And then the color choice is blue. There's lots of blue, right? So blue is present really, everywhere, right?
It is. And I think music definitely influences. They say that there's some people out there that have the ability to see color when they hear music. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I necessarily see the color, but I create the color and feel the music to the point that I allow it to influence each painting I make. So definitely music influences my work.
It's very interesting. It's almost as if in the subtlety, because it's not, the brushstrokes aren't subtle, but the way you build it creates a subtlety, and it's almost like there's images within the image. But I'm drawn to stories within each portion of the painting. It's so good. Let's get to the next one so I don't run out of time.
Love it. Okay.
Art has always had a way of breaking down barriers. It has provided a place where strangers can find common ground, where normally that wouldn't happen. Art is connection, storytelling. Art is hope. And when I paint, I want to tell a story. Because for me, it is more than just a mountain scene or a forest or flowers. It's a feeling. It is a feeling that comes from being in that space, and that is what I put on canvas. But when I paint, I want my art to inspire hope. The colors I select, the textures I use, even the landscapes themselves are all intentionally designed to help create a sense of hope in people. I want others to feel lifted as they're drawn into one of my paintings. In order to achieve the vision of hope in my paintings and to elicit that feeling in others, I have to dig deep and allow my own vulnerability to show up. I have learned to trust the process over the years, and the more vulnerable I allow myself to be, the deeper the connection my clients seem to have with the paintings. For the past decade, I find it amazing how art can open people up to share stories they wouldn't normally. Beyond the art, hope can be instilled in the simplest of conversations. Passing on kindness or an encouraging word, it's amazing what hope can do in someone. I realized that live painting was a way of impacting people in a different way than just seeing a painting on a wall. Being part of watching the creative process opens people's minds, which then creates a gateway of communication between strangers. Another thing I am passionate about is charities. I have a goal to raise $1 million for charity, and I'm getting closer and closer to that goal. I work closely with charities by painting live at events and donating the art to be auctioned off for their cause. I've had the privilege of taking on some really fun projects, like painting for the Canadian Embassy in Abu Dhabi to celebrate Canada's 150th, painting on a Lexus luxury car for the Vignettes Design Series, a mural on the side of a building, or flying to Dubai to be the featured painter at the Raffles Hotel. As the world becomes smaller, one thing has always been constant: being able to share stories with others. And through all this, hope remains. My name is Giselle Denis, and I am an artist.
So yeah, this one's called Poetry in Motion.
Mm-hmm.
And this piece, I believe I created this one in Dubai on one of my, I do my live painting on location for my residency at the Raffles Hotel. And it's funny because when I paint on location, it's places like the desert, people think like, oh, she's gonna paint, you know, desert scenes. But what I like to do is take myself, my art, and still be me wherever I go. And so it's like a musician that travels. So when they take their song set, they take their song set and they play that song set everywhere. It doesn't necessarily mean they change it to like a Japanese type, you know, music if they go to Japan, or if they change it when they go to Africa. They take their person and their art with them wherever they go. So Poetry in Motion is definitely about taking like my work, taking Giselle around the world, but I'm still me wherever I go. And it does have a bit of almost like that distant landscape feel that you have when you're in the desert, but then I made it mine with all the color and the flowers. Like you wouldn't see the scene necessarily in Dubai where I paint. And I like to kind of, use the metaphor of I take my song, my art, everywhere I go around the world, and it looks like it looks because that's still me no matter where I'm traveling. Where a lot of artists would take, you know, they would go and paint what they see at that location if they're going to travel, like, oh, I'm in Italy now, I'm going to paint it, you know, scenes I see in Italy. But I let the landscape influence me, but it still looks like my work.
Well, and it's there's so much that's fascinating to it. Yes, I saw the distant desert topography, but covered with a blanket of flowers and grasses. And I would say that the people that were there, they probably want the desert to look like that. So this is probably very captivating for them. I think the color of the skies as well pays tribute to the desert sky, but also throws in the really fresh colors. And there's a mountain motif there, almost a mystical kind of thing which would speak to the belief system that when you were there. So you're very much influenced, and you can almost see characters again in the clouds. It's such a It's a beautiful way you paint. It's and I've watched, your episodes, and I see how it comes together. But then even after, so you still have that sense of building. But when I go back and I'll look at the still frame, it has even a more when you revisit the completed art. You know what I'm saying? When you're present in its construction, it has a different presentation than when you come back to it when it's done. I don't know if that makes sense or not.
Yeah, I love that. Man, you don't need me. You're talking about the art better than I am.
Yeah, but
Hey, what a fantastic space. This is awesome.
Thank you.
All right, we're here to do a Q&A. So Giselle, why do a Q&A?
It'd be great for people to get to know me a little bit better.
So who is Giselle Denis?
I am an artist
Why painting?
because I have a music degree.
How would you describe your style?
Loose and free.
What other artists inspire you?
Claude Monet, Van Gogh, George O'Keeffe.
What artist, living or dead, would you like to collaborate with?
Claude Monet.
What goes through your mind as you're painting?
I think I don't think as much. I feel more than I think.
How do you know when you're done a painting?
You're never done. You just have to know when to stop.
All right, oils or acrylics?
Acrylics.
How many paintings do you paint in 1 year?
I counted 1 year and I painted 450.
Wow, that's a lot. All right, tell me what your favorite thing in the studio is.
The light.
Hey Giselle, messy or neat?
Oh, totally neat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. What do you do when you get paint on a dress?
I swear, and then I will go buy a new dress.
Have you ever gone paint on someone else?
Yes. I have.
What is something you wish for people to know about you?
About me. That I paint with intention, that my message is all about hope. It's not just a bunch of pretty paintings.
What's one thing you're looking forward to in your future?
Traveling more with my art.
Okay, Giselle, trick question. What is your favorite color?
All the colors.
What is the most embarrassing thing that's happened to you while live painting?
One time my easel completely fell apart 1 minute before going on live TV. That was embarrassing.
Yeah, it might have been stressful too. Okay, what is the rudest thing someone has ever said about your art?
That my art is pussy art.
How about the nicest thing?
That my art looks like me.
Or Giselle, what intimidates you?
Public speaking.
What overwhelms you?
Oh, a room full of loud children.
What inspires you?
Everything.
And what is your favorite painting?
Usually the last painting I made.
If you could say something to your younger self, what would it be?
Care less about what people think of you.
What advice do you have for other artists?
Paint more.
What's the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning?
I stretch and drink coffee.
The last thing before bed?
I stretch and read.
If you could describe yourself in one song, what song would it be?
Right now, a song by Ria May called Thoughts on Fire.
What is your biggest weakness?
Probably organization.
Your biggest strength?
Positivity and persistence.
What's your favorite place you've ever visited?
Dubai, of course.
What's a cause that's really important to you?
Causes that take care of women and children, particularly little warriors.
All right, Giselle, we've reached the final question of this interview. What is going through your mind right now?
Ask me more questions. This is so fun.
All right, thanks, Giselle, for having us. We'll see you next time.
Thank you. Bye.
I can't talk until I hear what you're saying, right? So
I love
now
it.
here we go.
Oh,
This is a different. You're using a different size of canvas. It's a different shape. So what do we got here?
yeah, this painting's called Melodic Dreams, and I painted this one outside on the patio at the Fairmont Hotel, where I paint weekly on a normal year. And I remember painting this one, and it's different. Painting outside on location for a group even is different than painting on location inside a building. So you have that much more sort of space to work with. You feel, you've got that much more room around you to sort of move about a little more freely. And Melodic Dreams for me, the title, so is influenced because I'm painting around people. So it's again about people, but then it's also again about myself, where I dream a lot. Every single night, I tell you, if I sat down and wrote my dream down the next morning, I have a dream every single night. I'm one of those people.
Awesome.
And I often do write down the dreams. But most of the time I just it's just my normal, right? So I don't always think to write it down. So I often get images of things that I'd like to paint in my mind when I'm awake and also when I'm asleep. So dreams are really like powerful and influential for my work. And I try and sort of close my eyes and sort of recreate what I saw when I was asleep or when I was daydreaming. And I really allow like again, the live painting, the public painting, to really use that as a tool and as a gift that was given to me to, first of all, have the ability to create in front of people. Not a lot of artists want that. And I truthfully do love the privacy of the studio, but there's a different element and a different feel when you can paint it live for a group that's really like, in and out of conversation with you. And I can hear them in the background talking about not necessarily just the painting they see in front of them, but how it sparks conversation about art, period. So I really love what art, like the presentation of art that I can put out there, how it influences like even just conversation just about art in general, what it means to them. And, oh, my grandma painted me that painting and she passed away. You just hear stories and people share with me so many things. So anyway, I could talk forever about that, but.
Please. The use of the purples that you use, they're almost your own kind of purple. I recognize the color. It's got a lot of it's interesting. Now, purple speaks to me of authority, but you're speaking from yourself. So this is a personal authority. Yellow to me is like thought and intelligence, and blue, the blues that are actually in there are light, and that's like to me emotion. And again, it's reflective, but the melodic dream is the flower, but behind the flower, it's almost reflective. It's so powerful. It's interesting that
I love it.
I could spend 10 hours looking at it, and but you have thousands of hours of experience, but just to lay that down and I appreciate this time. This is wonderful to spend this with you. Here, we have some texture.
Thank you.
What do we got here? This is different.
Yeah, this one's it's a smaller piece. It's a 24 by 18. It's called Kaleidoscope Flight. And this one was painted in the evening inside the Fairmont Hotel in the lounge. And I remember my mom was there, who's also a painter, and her sister. So my aunt and my mom were there for a special night. My aunt was visiting from out of town. They don't get to see each other very often. And I don't normally paint butterflies, but I really felt like a tribute to my mom that evening would be like special for her, because she painted a lot of butterflies over her career and still does. And I paint them very differently than her. Like I use heavy palette knife, heavy paint, lots of texture. And she has gotten into acrylics herself. She used to do watercolor work, but I wanted to give this sort of like a tribute to my mom in her process, and thanking her for showing me art at such a young age and influencing me and believing in me before I ever did. She put my art up for sale in her displays as I was growing up, and people would show interest in my work. And she just, my parents never told me, you need to find a real job. They were always really encouraging to me. They really knew before I did that I was going to be an artist. I didn't know I was going to be an artist, but so yeah, the painting is a tribute to my mom, and just like her colorful soul influencing me without even realizing. And she got to watch me paint it, which is super special. She doesn't get to see that often, what I'm doing at the Fairmont or live painting. But yeah, like I'll finish a painting and text my mom, I just finished this one. And she just has anything nice to say, right? So if I want someone to critique my work, it can't be my mom.
She'll just do the right thing.
Do the mom. Although she
Yes.
has helped me. If I say to her, Mom, I feel like there's just something I have to fix about this painting, like she'll definitely point it out and help me. And she's helped me make, paintings better. And I've always trusted that she can give me some idea and critique me in a gentle, kind way.
May I say what I see?
Yes, please.
The upward movement of it, so that it's sort of stretched up, right? And so you get the whole painting moves upward with the butterflies as they lift off. The butterflies, though they seem to be in a flight pattern together, each are independent and free. So it speaks to the kaleidoscope. And I instantly noticed when I looked at this, when we were picking paintings, that the flowers were different than what I've seen in other. Again, they're more they're a lot more impressionistic, which is great. It's awesome. But that for me now makes the water come like a waterfall or rain. So there's always there's an upward and an inward and outward and upward and downward, giving and receiving to your work that I see. It's very interesting.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like after you explain it more like that, I didn't see all that you were saying. And it almost feels like the painting has this like pleasing tension to it. So like the water movement in the back and the separation of the butterflies, how they're slightly moving together, but they're separated in their own unique, they're still uniquely their own. And then the flowers are kind of pushed back in sort of a Monet-esque style. The focus of the painting is the butterflies. But I love how you describe that. This is why I love talking to people about my work, because they see things that I wouldn't have necessarily picked out. Not that I lose perspective, but it's good to hear other perspective.
And it's like if every painting is a one word, it's a very sophisticated word, right? And that word, as I receive it, has a different definition and meaning, and then my ability to express it back. And that's what's so great about art, is that we're able to engage. shopping cart. So this is basically the first one. She's an explosion of hope. You have it in stock and it's ready to go.
Yeah. Yeah, everything on the website basically. So there's a different ways to purchase. You can click add to cart and purchase it. I think it uses PayPal. And generally though, people contact me directly and ask me, is this painting still available? And they can call me up with a credit card, or there's lots of different ways to do it. I do sell right off the website. So it's nice that it's like that accessible.
Yeah.
So it's like, grab and go, and I still have to be contacted to ship or deliver the painting, but I like that. I have the ability to like one-on-one deal with every customer personally, like whether it's a phone call, an email, a text, or whatever, I'm still dealing with everyone and giving them that special attention for every single purchase, because I want to know who's collecting my work. So yeah, it's quite accessible and easy to make a purchase.
This is a significant piece. It's 4 feet by 6 feet. This is big.
Yes, it's huge.
This is big. This is great room. This is dining room. This is landing foyer. This is significant. Okay, so we'll take a look at this one again.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the large pieces. 40 by 60. This next one here. That's a very common size. That's probably my best seller size. Also, takes up a large amount of space on the wall.
Yeah.
But yeah, I paint large for a purpose, because people generally do have these large walls that need some color, and it takes a lot of my whole house is stacked with these paintings, and they take up a ton of room, but I sell them frequently enough that they come in and go out, and
it's awesome. It's so neat. And this again, what kind of flowers are these to be? What are they? If you're painting them, what would you say they are?
They're like, good question. I just call it Field of Wildflowers. So
the desert will blossom like wildflowers.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good name for a painting. I like that.
When you're there next time.
Yeah, I think maybe some wild roses or something in there. These ones are more like daisy inspired flower. Daisies have a lot of species of I guess the species of daisy has a lot of variations. So I do a lot of daisy-esque type flowers. So
I'm looking at this Melodic Dreams. Do you approach the wonder and beauty of your work with reverence?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I can feel that in this one for sure.
Yeah. I think it might be the color choice that I use. So reverence makes me think of like royalty and purple. When I'm painting stuff, I don't necessarily think about the reason behind each color, but then I'll research a color, saying, okay, if I'm staring at this painting, it doesn't have a name yet, I'll go, well, it's predominantly purple and pink or whatever. And then I'll read more about the color, and it'll help me name the painting knowing more about what that color means. So, purple is reverence and royalty. And there's another word used earlier. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, I think you got to pay respect to this process of trusting yourself to make something and make it look nice and make a great painting, and really trust yourself and trust the process that you're going to make something that speaks to somebody, because I think that's what art's all about.
And, talking about the use of color, and I'm not going to get into the, why I see this, but I see from this painting that emotionally you're very light on your emotional feet. You move lightly in the breeze of your soul, and but your emotion is engaged in your I don't want to say warfare or struggle, but your how you deal with the world, and how you survive and prosper in it. So that's where your emotions are at, and I get that out of the painting. So
I love that. Really, art is truly like therapy for me. Yeah, of course, I'm a happy person and stuff like that, but I work on that, and I don't not struggle with emotional things that have happened in my life. I've led a great life, but I've also had things happen, and that life happens to you, and you have to deal with things. So I think I often do turn to, without even realizing, I turn to painting as a therapeutic process to get through.
Yeah, and the fact that you're a lucid dreamer, I think is helpful. Your
Absolutely.
mind is not you're not afraid to let your mind flow in creativity, right? And it takes time
Yeah.
to learn that. You know, it's a spiritual practice in itself, creativity. Kaleidoscope of flight, we're back to it.
Yeah. What do you want to know about this one?
Well, you tell me. We're wrapping her up. It's 24 by 18. So
Yeah,
it's like how you have it presented. It's a nice piece for a hallway or in an office, or as you have it on a mantelpiece. It's lovely.
Yeah, and it's one of my best selling sizes also for the smaller works, and you could put it really anywhere. And it's the price point too. Like I have price points for a reason, where it's like, you know, not necessarily the same person who would spend $500 on a painting has enough to spend, you know, $5,000 on a painting. So I like to offer different sizes just to accommodate spaces and also budgets and things like that. So I've often, probably, I can't even tell you how many times I've sold paintings right fresh off the easel that are, you know, often this size. They're still wet and people are giving me money for them. It's like, it's kind of crazy.
Let me dry. How do you crate up? Like when you ship these out, how are they crated?
How do they crate it?
How do you package them?
I use a company that ships a courier here in Edmonton, and I literally take it off the easel, put a piece of plastic on it, and I drop it off to the courier, and they wrap it. So they do special art delivery. So I believe there's layers of like cardboard, bubble wrap, and then more layers of heavy cardboard. Basically, they make a box with the cardboard. It's really heavy cardboard.
Mm-hmm.
But I used to carry like a lot of this packing material at my own home, and it was taking up so much space. And I'm thinking, well, okay, I don't have enough room for all this equipment and materials. So now I just deliver. For years, I drop it off the courier and they package it up. Insurance is covered. It's a really great process. Actually, it saves me the time of having to wrap these up. So, but when you purchase a painting from me, you can get it within like a week, sometimes sooner if you know, if I can get it to the courier and he doesn't have a pile of things to ship out, he's very quick. So paintings always arrive quite, you know, pleasantly on time or early. So yeah, it's great.